What I want to do today is give you a look at my ever-changing chicken system. The idea is to essentially rotationally graze the 15-layer chickens that I have on some sort of forage year-round, all the time. The benefit for them is they're on forage, they're moving around. The benefit for me is that I get the manure, I get the pest control, I get the disturbance, and all the other benefits the chickens provide, like babysitting, and they're just fun to look at. So what I have here in the background that you can see is a series of runs. There's about 9 of these going up, and on a week-by-week basis, I rotate them from one run up to the next run. The forage that I put in here is a cover crop. It's a one and done cover crop, meaning they're not partially grazing it. I don't let it recover and come back. I let them in there. They eat as much, which means all of it, as they can, and then I totally reseed it, move them on to the next run, and eventually bring them back into rotation. So all the crops I'm putting in here, they're one and done. That's bulk cover crop seed that I usually get from Peaceful Valley Organic Farm Supply. Pretty cheap, probably about $1.50 to $2 a pound for a lot of the crops I use. That's not that bad of a price if you buy it in bulk. I set up the system this way for a few reasons. Number one, I didn't want to have my chickens sitting on dirt patches and mud. Here in Southern California, you see a lot of chickens and they're just on bare ground. Trying to graze them on a lawn, if you will, wasn't going to happen, because if you have chickens or you're familiar with chickens, you know they go through biomass pretty quick, so a lawn turns into a dirt patch pretty quick. By reseeding this, replanting it, it gives me a way to really recover and switch around what I'm doing. Now, a lot of this system is bare right now because I'm switching it around. What I have currently are permanent runs. So here's a permanent run, here's a permanent run, and this one that they're in. The fencing there never comes down. It's welded wire fencing, it's 3 feet high, it's buried in the ground a little ways, and I change around the top because I need aerial protection on it to protect from predators. Hawks is the main thing. But it's a pain, it's cumbersome to work with. I want to try and incorporate vegetables into here, and when you have these narrow runs, it's a nuisance, and there's no pathways between the runs. When I set it up, I wish I had done that. Put pathways in between the runs just to make access easier. I didn't do that, so now you're walking on the runs, which ideally I don't want to have to do. So I'm going to a system that is more of like a mobile chicken tractor. This is version 2. I'll do another video on that. Made out of PVC, but I'm trying to have it so what I can essentially do is take down all the fencing that you're seeing up here and integrate in just these mobile runs. So only the run that they're in will have fencing on it via the mobile run. All this other permanent fencing will be gone. I'll have permanent pathways in between the beds. That makes access easy. It means I never have to walk on the beds because I'm trying to go no-till as much as possible here. And it'll allow me to try and incorporate veg with the chickens, which is what I'm trying to do. I don't really know a lot of people doing that on a production level. This is really an emulation of what Curtis does, what Jean Martin and all the other great market gardeners out there are doing. A true 30-inch bed system just like they have, but using chickens to go through and clean up the waste and have the benefits of the soil. Because I don't want to get rid of the chickens and I want the veg, so how can you have them coexist in one place? Now, even though I'm trying to grow veg and integrate chickens into that veg operation now, that wasn't really my initial context or what I was trying to do. Initially, I was going at it from more of a alley cropping, agroforestry style approach. I was going to plant trees in between all these runs, like have 3 runs, then a row of trees, 3 runs, a row of trees. But it didn't work for me because a lot of the tree crops I planted, I had mesquite in here. The chickens don't really like the mesquite. It was taking up space. I'm not going to deal with the pods on a small scale. I didn't like it. I think veg is more practical for me in my context because we can eat the veg, the chickens can eat the leftover, I can sell some of it, I can give it away, and it can turn over a lot of crops quickly. So on a small land base, veg was the solution. If I had more land, I'd have trees in here. I have a lot of trees on the property, so don't think I'm anti-tree. All the trees are on the perimeter where I think there's better space for trees to be utilized. So I keep those on the perimeter. That's where all the pollinators are, all those types of plants. But in here, this is just intensive veg. That's what this zone is, intensive veg and chickens. So the idea of having trees in here, A few months ago, I ended up popping all the trees out, moved them to the perimeters of my property, and also one other slopey area up front. But for now, it's all veg. But I like the idea of what's possible here. I think you could do a lot on this. I've talked to a few people before doing something similar. A lot of people use a wagon wheel style approach where you have a coop in the center and then they rotate around. Mine's a little different in the sense that these are linear beds that come down and just connect to a permanent main run. There's a small tunnel that comes along right here and comes over to this permanent main run, which leads to the coop. So coop, this main run, never change. This tunnel, I'm able to move around to feed them into any of these various runs that I have. So it's a mobile system, gives me a lot of optionality, purpose is to grow veg. Still experimenting with it, still playing with it. I think it's gonna look a lot different 6 months from now, so you'll see a lot of the progress in terms of where it's going. But the base here of moving the chickens around really works. I love the idea of cover cropping it. It's not as expensive as you think if you get a lot of seed. You know, 50-pound bags are not that much, and it goes a long way. Chickens like it, I like it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.